This morning, you probably used a toilet. You flushed it without thinking. The waste vanished into hidden pipes beneath your feet, and you moved on with your day. You assume this is modern technology, but the real answer is far stranger. 4,500 years ago, while most of humanity was still figuring out mud huts, there was a city where nearly every house had its own private bathroom, its own drainage, its own connection to a covered sewer system running beneath perfectly straight streets. And that city was not in Rome, it was not in Greece, it was in the Indus Valley, in the ancient Indian subcontinent. Its name is Mohenjo-daro. Think about your mental image of the ancient world: pharaohs, pyramids, Roman emperors. So, why is a city more advanced than Rome in the ways that actually matter? Sanitation, planning, public health, missing from that picture. Why have you barely heard of it? Around 2600 BCE, along the Indus River in what is now Pakistan and northwest India, villages transformed into hundreds of settlements spread across an area larger than ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia combined. Archaeologists call it the Indus Valley Civilization. At its height, it may have held 5 million people. When the archaeologist R.D. Banerjee began excavating Mohenjo-daro in the 1920s and John Marshall announced the discovery in 1924, they expected palaces, royal tombs, and monuments to god kings. They found none of it. Instead, they found a grid. Streets crossing in near-perfect alignment, like a modern city plan, 4,000 years before Manhattan. Houses built from baked bricks made in a standardized ratio, the same proportions repeated across cities hundreds of kilometers apart. Same bricks, same weights, same measures. That is not an accident. That is a system. Then came the water. Around 700 wells, bathing platforms in ordinary homes, covered street drains with removable brick covers for cleaning. Thousands of years later, ordinary Romans were still emptying chamber pots into the street. In Mohenjo-daro, a regular family had plumbing. And above it all sat the Great Bath, a watertight public pool sealed with bitumen, possibly the oldest public water tank on Earth. The city's grandest structure was not a palace. It was built for the public. Which brings you to the twist. There is no evidence of kings, no royal tombs, no giant statues of rulers. The archaeologist Gregory Possehl noted that the usual signatures of centralized power are simply absent. Even stranger, there is very little evidence of warfare, few battle weapons, no armies carved in stone. So how do you run a civilization of millions without a visible king and without an army? Nobody knows. Researchers like Jonathan Mark and Oyer suggest power may have been shared among merchants, landowners, and religious leaders. A network, not a pyramid. They were traders too. Indus seals have been found in Mesopotamia, thousands of kilometers away, and the earliest woven cotton on Earth comes from this region. Their seals also carry writing, about 400 symbols, and nobody can read them. The scholar Asko Parpola has spent over 50 years trying to decipher the Indus script. 5 million people, and you cannot read a single sentence they wrote. Then, around 1900 BCE, the city slowly emptied. For decades, textbooks blamed an invasion, a theory pushed by Mortimer Wheeler. Later analysis proved him wrong. The real killer was quieter. The monsoon weakened. Rivers shifted or dried. The water that made the civilization possible slowly walked away, and no enemy ever needed to burn the gates. But the people did not vanish. They dispersed, adapted, and blended into the cultures of the Indian subcontinent. Their story did not end. It just stopped being written in a script we can read. So why did you grow up hearing about Rome instead? Because Rome left us words we can still read, and history is written by those voices. And because the Indus does not fit our story that greatness needs emperors and conquest. Its greatest monument was infrastructure. Clean water in, wastewater out. Ask what has saved more lives, gladiators or plumbing. And you already know the answer. Your civilization feels permanent too. Your streets are planned. Your water arrives on demand. Theirs did too. And it must have felt eternal to them as well. It was not. Rivers move. Climates shift. The most advanced systems are only as stable as the world they were built for. Civilizations end. People continue. So tonight, watch the water spiral down your drain for 1 second. 4,500 years ago, in a city with no pharaoh, no legions, and better plumbing than Rome, a child watched the same thing.